Welcome back and thanks for staying with us on Daybreak right here on Trust TV. Now let's go to our first conversation of the morning. The Labour Party has declared that it will leverage on the widespread support from Nigerians to win the 2023 elections. Now, the party, which some of the other candidates said has no structure to win the election, appears resolute ahead of the presidential election, which is just 16 days away. Now, official spokesperson of the party, Ndikato, joins us in the studio for more on the discussion. Good morning and welcome to
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
All right. Well, the Labour Party seems to be bullish ahead of these elections coming in spite of what every other person is saying. Where's this confidence coming from?
I mean, from the people, from the support we've seen from the people. I think if you have this level of support, you'll definitely be confident. Thankfully, we're not arrogant. we're just really confident. Nigerians have shown, I mean, typically during election season, what you would have is parties really having to mobilize and, you know, try to get those their people on the grassroots to get support for them. But we have people actually coming out for this support. We don't have to pay that much. We don't have to do that much. People are carrying the Labour Party, as Nigerians would say, on their head. People are carrying the Labour Party on their head. And when you see that, when you go to places and you see that there was no need for mobilization for people to come out and they're following you to trek from local government to local government, people are volunteering their own time, their own energy, not because they are running for office, not because they are seeking to gain anything when you win, which is what, you know, mostly obtains in the political space, not because of all of that, but because they want good governance and because they believe in you. I think that would instill confidence in anyone.
One of the things that worry me, if you like, and the number of Nigerians with what I see with the Labour Party is the fact that there seems to be just one unified message around the presidential candidate. Quite a number of the states seem to be in turmoil. Why are we not seeing that goodwill, you know, transcend the presidential candidates or rub off, sort of?
It's transcending. I mean, everybody is campaigning on the level that they are campaigning on. And if you go to some of these places, you would see them putting their picture. I mean, I come from Kaduna, you see Jonathan Asake putting his picture and putting Peter Obi's picture next to it. I think that also the goodwill that comes with the with that, many people are already banking on it and already, you know, I went to Imo earlier this year and I could see the candidates, you know, on that level. That is those running for House of Reps and all of that, because they don't have gubernatorial elections now. But those running for the lower seats are banking on all of this. They're really counting on it, and people are following. It should also point to, you know, that, you know, we're not expecting to have a rubber stamp Senate or National Assembly at this point in time. We really want a very heterogeneous system, a system that has people from all sorts of parties, so that people can come together and make a better government, and that is it. But as it is, Labour Party is having good support at the grassroots. People are taking advantage. People are running. I can see Ireti Kingibe in FCT here doing what she can, and yeah, that's it.
All right. Well, one thing that people keep talking about when they talk about the structure and how the party is and all that is a situation whereby, perchance now, the Labour Party eventually wins the presidential election, and just like you said, you don't want a rubber stamp National Assembly, which is, there's a very high chance that probably will not happen. You will not get you might not get a majority in the National Assembly. A lot of people are concerned that wouldn't it be difficult for you to run a government in a situation like that?
At all. I think that the issues plaguing Nigeria are, you know, things that everybody can agree with on common sense, on a common sense level. When it comes to insecurity, for example, would the National Assembly say, oh, because the president is not from my own party, I'm going to stop the purchase of weapons or, you know, surveillance materials? And so these things are common sense issues on a large scale. But another thing I'd like to point out is Nigerian politicians are very flaky. Right? So they gravitate towards power. And one thing you will notice is if you enter power, like look at what happened with the PDP, right? And the APC, you would enter and think, oh, okay, we've lost elections, our people are with us. And then gradually some of your strongest soldiers will start to decamp because they are like that. They gravitate towards power. People who are dissatisfied with the system they are in, but were not confident enough to move because they were not sure that this place could have won. When it happens and when Labour Party wins, you find that these people will have the boldness to move. We already have some politicians who have already decamped based on that. You know, again, I'll use the Imo example with a lot of politicians there waiting for the for the gubernatorial elections to come through and for them to use the Labour Party platform. I saw in Abia. I'm seeing in places, several places.
On that, the Labour Party right now, or the presidential candidate, is actually running as a breath of fresh air. Mostly, that's the situation on ground. But if something like this happens and all these other established politicians move over to Labour, are we doing the same thing over again?
I mean, that is what is sad about it. But let me tell you, in our engagements, we've been trying to encourage a lot of Nigerians and a lot of young people, and I tell them, you're already participating in politics. If you are campaigning or canvassing for votes, you know, a lot of people have formed, you know, these groups to canvass for votes, and, you know, grassroots and all of that, and are going around. I say, what you're doing is politicking. And if you're already politicking, you should join the party. Don't make the mistake of saying, I'm only campaigning for Peter Obi, and, you know, when he wins, I'll be. It's important that if you're already participating in the political process, please take the step of making it official. Because what will happen is nature abhors a vacuum. If there's a vacuum there, people will enter and fill it. So here's hoping that people will take advantage and already step into the system. But already, you would see that Nigerian politicians will take advantage of these situations. And I mean, this is what.
So you can't help it.
We're trying to help it by telling young people, and telling not just young people, let's not be ages, telling older people too who are in this space. I mean, the thing we have is that you would have a lot of people who have their careers, who have, and I remember in 99, let me use my parents as an example. In 99, we had this photographer my mom was a lecturer in University of Abuja, and so we had this photographer that we used to call Honorable. You come and take us, you know, those days they would take pictures to come and snap and go and wash and come back, you know. Yeah. So this man came around that 98, 99 time, he came and told us that he was going into politics. And he's going that the new dispensation, that the new political dispensation has come in. He thinks if he goes to the village, he's going to go and win the election there. And people like my parents, who, you know, my mom had so much to offer, my dad had so much to offer. They're like, no, this is not going to last. This political dispensation, this democracy is not going to last. We have seen it before. We will come and try to run. Next, the military will come back and everything. And those same people stayed behind. Honorable was the kind of person that if he takes your picture, you may not get it 2-3 months later. You know, he'll be telling you, I'm coming. And at the end of the day, he went and ran. And he won. Why did he win? People who could have come to run were saying, this is not, you know, let us just hands off. And so we're trying to push for that. Like, don't hands off. Don't say, I'm just doing this for Peter Obi. I want him to run. I want a better nation. If your efforts can put someone you think who is good into office, it can also put you into office. Canvass for votes, join the system and be part of it. And we're really, really trying to encourage a lot of people to do that.
Interesting. I'm looking at you and I'm wondering what office you're running for. A little bit away from what appears to be some charming measure of confidence that you exude. You look like you're taking a class with Peter Obi himself. But El-Rufai, your own governor, would describe your candidate as a Nollywood actor. Which
is very insulting. Yeah.
Why is that?
It is insulting. I don't think that. I think whatever chance you have to come on TV, you should sell your candidate, you should sell what he intends to do for Nigeria, you should sell why you think you win the election. The little time I have here, I know you can think that 1 hour is a lot, but it's not that much time, and I need to sell Peter Obi. So if we come here and then instead of selling, you know, we go into ad hominems, I don't think those are the issues. Nigeria is plagued with so many issues at the moment that coming on TV, especially if you come from Kaduna State and you're the governor of Kaduna State, with everything that is happening on Kaduna State, in Kaduna State, I think that any little opportunity you should get should be to tell the people of Kaduna State how you intend to protect them. Should be to, you know, try to get us to feel a bit confident. We are really beaten down at this point. Like, Kaduna State is the state going through one of the most worst situations in Nigeria at the moment. And you would think that, you know, if our governor comes, he would talk about what has happened to us. He would talk about the attacks that has happened. Okay, how do you intend to protect us? And he has been silent for such a long time. And to come on TV to say this, I don't know, it doesn't feel right.
Moving on, it's not just coming from Nasir El-Rufai. Your candidate seemed to be on the lips of his party's presidential candidate quite a number of times, once in Anambra and in other places, describing him as a container economist, describing him as a Chinese statistician, and in fact at some point saying a statistic will go chop. I know your party had reacted at some point, but what's your perception of that nature of politics? You've talked about Nasir El-Rufai, who is a governor, but these are political actors. Is it completely wrong to sometimes take a jab at your opener?
I think again, like I've said prior, when Peter Obi gets an opportunity, he tries his best to sell himself. He tries his best to talk about the issues plaguing Nigeria, and I think that's what it is. Especially, you know, with that candidate, we have not really heard him talk about policies that much, and I think that should be the direction that Tinubu should be going. He should be talking about policies. He should be talking to Nigerians. I think it's disrespectful to not want to engage Nigerians on what you're going to do for them if you win the presidency, and that's just it. I don't think he should be throwing jabs. I have no jabs to throw at him. I feel that we should sell ourselves on what we intend to do for Nigerians, and that's very important. So I would encourage him to do the same. Encourage all candidates to do the same. Nigerians want to hear. We're going through a lot. Like I'm not separate from the Nigerians going through a lot. I'm going through a lot, and I'm interested in what every presidential candidate has to offer. I'm really interested. I'm interested in what my own candidate has to offer. And when I come here, that's the thing I want to sell. Look, this is what we are going through right now. Nigeria is on the brink. Nigeria is on the brink. And when a candidate comes forward and he's spilling out these statistics, it's because he has seen other systems. He has seen how other systems work. And he's telling you, this is what a system looks like when it works. And we can replicate it here. We can be better here. And that's just the conversation. I think it's important that Peter Obi is having this conversation. I dare say that Peter Obi has changed the way in which campaigning happens in this country. Because if he was not here, would have been busy with eating corn by the roadside, would have been busy with things that are not so important, would have been busy with our former funny way of campaigning. So I'm really happy that this has happened. And I hope that it sets an example so that future elections will continue like this. Nigerians want to know what is in store for them. We don't want Seka, Yikoba, Poster. We want to know what is in store for us.
All right, well, we're talking about what we're going through. We're currently going through cash crunch now. Cash is...
All of us, All of us.
Cash is definitely king now, as it were. What's the stand of your candidate when it comes to this?
So on one hand, you know, we applaud the efforts CBN is putting in. We understand this, we understand this policy, but then the implementation. When you're implementing a policy, you should look at how it affects the citizen. So while a policy might have, you know, a good background, you may have good intent with the policy, let's look at policies must be people friendly. So on one hand, you know, we understand CBN's play, we understand what they are heading, what they are going at, but the implementation is key. So it's two things, you know, not to throw away the baby with the bathwater, but implementation is key. When you see that people are suffering like this, we don't have 7 days, as Buhari would say, oh, let's go and... Is the 7 days over now?
Should be over tomorrow.
Okay. We don't have, give us 7 days to go and see. People are suffering in real time. There's so many places where we come from where, you know, I mean, in Southern Kaduna, there are not many people with bank accounts there. I think some of the few banks, you see some in Kafanchan. When you really go to other local governments and see, people have to congregate in Kafanchan to use these banks. It means that many people are unbanked. And so these people rely on Naira from day to day to be able to survive. And we have to think of those Nigerians. I don't think that the majority of Nigerians are banked.
I don't think presidential candidate would say that your likes that is talking about you and the other party, which seem to support the policy or have a positive disposition for the policy, are doing so because they said because you enjoy seeing Nigerians suffer in a way, and that they are kicked against it because they are pro-people. How would you relate?
I mean, pro-people would be to have stood up for Nigerians the entire 8 years or 7+ years that APC has been in power. Pro-people would have been to look at the NSAS protests, especially, you know, Asiwaju, when they asked him and he was asking what were the young people doing there. Pro-people would have been to look at that and say that is an injustice. Pro-people would have been to look at all the sufferings Nigerians have been going through over the years and say, no, even though we are in power, we are going to stand against this. I mean, that's how I am. Even if I support a political party, I remember yesterday somebody was like, because I criticized Senator Aduda, somebody was like, oh, when you were in this party, you were not criticizing him. I went and pulled out 2015 election year. I was in that party. I criticized Aduda. 2019, I did. And this is somebody I know personally. So pro-people is taking sides with the people at every point in time. Not when you think, this may affect me negatively. Then you start to use people as bait And that is what is happening. You're using the people as bait. You're using the people as, worm for fish. And that's not right. If you were pro-people, we would have seen it since, because Nigerians have gone through a lot. They have gone through a lot under the APC government. And I think that there are so many opportunities for these politicians to be pro-people.
So when she keeps saying Nigerians have gone through a lot, I keep jumping on those jokes where they said if you are going through a lot, just continue.
Just keep going. That's what we have no choice.
I'm also coming from a lot. I wonder when we will all be done with what's a lot. Talking about your candidate's track record, it's almost becoming music in many people's ears. How much he saved while he was governor, how he cut down the cost of governance, how he ramped up health institutions in the state, how he was #1 in education and health, and all of that. But you've been to quite a number of places with him. Do you think those messages are resonating with people?
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. These conversations, when people say it's just social media, it's very funny. Social media trickles down. It trickles down. There's a reason why Trust TV, for example, will have a Twitter and a Facebook and a YouTube, because these conversations spread, these clips spread. What people are saying keeps spreading, and they spread like wildfire, and they influence the conversation at the grassroots. With respect to like the gatekeeper theory, we're really grateful for social media. Before, just a few media houses could come and dictate what everybody would talk about. But now, the gate is wide open. Anybody can dictate, and that is what is happening. Young people have taken hold of the conversation. The conversation is spreading like wildfire. I keep using examples. I mean, we went to my village in Kafanchan, and people followed me to Obi, trekked from Kafanchan to Kagoro. People from Kagoro followed and trekked back to Kafanchan. All the way between these two local governments, shouting and being excited about what they have heard, and the possibilities if Peter Obi becomes president. So these things have trickled down. These things have trickled down. People have heard. People understand what the issues are, and like I said, people are suffering. This is a case of suffer no the tire person. People are actually suffering. They're going through a lot.
All right. Well, one presidential candidate actually claims to have built a particular state, and he resides there, and he does everything from there. And a lot of people are throwing the jabs that you don't want to throw at your candidate, saying that, okay, if he did such a fantastic job in Anambra, why does he spend so little time there?
I mean, he does spend time in Anambra, but when you need to politic and work, you have to go to other places. But that built Lagos story is a bit funny to me. That was once the capital of Nigeria. Come on, guys. That was once the capital of Nigeria, and it still remains the economic capital of Nigeria today. So if this place is such an economic zone and a lot of policies are directed to this place, would you say that people should not go there? Even if it's Zamfara, anybody can live anywhere they want to in Nigeria. It is what it is. I mean, none of us come from the FCT. I don't think. Do you come from the FCT?
Absolutely.
No, I come from Kaduna, and I'm here, and there's a reason why I'm here, right? So people are free to live and work anywhere. I don't think.
But if you leave, when you leave here now, you're going back to Kaduna, aren't you?
No, I'm going back to Abuja. I live in Abuja. I've lived in Abuja since '93, and the Baggies have not said, "Oh my God, why are you here? Leave this place." I've lived amongst them for a long time. My mom was a lecturer, and we lived in Baggy communities, because people understand that when a place has been designated as the capital, many people will gravitate towards it. I mean, our major port is in Lagos. It's not Tinubu that made it the major port. People have governed Lagos before Tinubu. In fact, Igbos have governed Lagos before Tinubu. That is the kind of country that we want. Anybody should be able to live and work in it. And I think that we should dissuade this kind of conversations, because they are bigoted in nature. They're bigoted in nature, and they make, they make Nigerians endangered. When you now start having, today it starts with Peter Obi, and we'll be like, oh, because he's running for president, it's okay. But till the day that a Kaduna girl will be in Lagos and someone will say, go back to your state, what are you doing here? It's not right. It's not right at all. I don't think that belongs in the conversation at all. Lagos was the capital of Nigeria. Because of that, it enjoyed certain privileges. It's now currently the economic capital of Nigeria. It's not Tinubu that made it. Its location makes it that. The port there makes it that. Businesses will gravitate towards that. It's like asking why a northerner will be working in the oil sector in Niger Delta. Why aren't you digging But why aren't you doing something in Zamfara? Why aren't you in Kano? Why are you here? Because I studied petroleum engineering. This is where I can. I mean, it is what it is. You can live and work anyway. That is the nature of Nigeria. Nigeria is a heterogeneous country. We are all one as a people. You can live and work anywhere. He has a house in Anambra. He has a house in Lagos. He's contributing to the economy, and that's what is important. And other countries really like this. If you're going to live in another country, let's say you want to move to the UK, one of the first things they want to check is, do you have the financial capabilities to support yourself and contribute to our economy? If so, please come. People look for that. That's what it is. If so, please come. If you don't have, we'll think about it. And that's how it works. So I don't know why this should be in the conversation.
Well, officially, Indikato has dethroned Asewaju from his popular title of the owner of Lagos.
He's not. He's not. Many have governed Lagos before him, and many would.
17 days to the elections. In some quarters, there had been talked about this government wanting to gravitate towards an interim government. Others have made the arguments that they are not interested in an election, and so there had been comment about whether these elections will hold or not. And in fact, we have seen more of those concerns coming from the ruling party, despite repeated assurance from INEC and the security agencies. Does your party share in those apprehensions?
Yeah, the elections will hold. What we are most concerned about, for example, yesterday, and I would like to call it out, yesterday we actually saw INEC retweeting, liking a tweet that called Peter Obi an opportunist. And people went and saw it, like, why is INEC liking this tweet? What is happening here? But at the end of the day, I think they came out to release a statement. But if we have the organization, the institution responsible for elections, with people working among their staff behaving like this, I mean, it calls for concern. So it's in those kinds of places that we're really concerned. Is INEC really an unbiased umpire in this situation? It really calls for concern. And I think that, news media needs to shed more light on why that happened. Any other country, this would have been a major scandal. But we're seeing it just flying under the radar in Nigeria, and that's quite something. Otherwise, I think we've had 20 plus years of democracy, isn't it?
That's right.
We've had 20 plus years of democracy. At this point, Nigerians, we should stop having that conversation of will elections hold and be bold about elections will hold, because what's the other option, right? So if and this thing happens every election. The last election, people were like, the elections may not hold. And the elections before that, the elections may not hold. We keep doing that. And it's like, that trauma from military rule is still there. So I want us to go beyond that point. And anytime, say, elections will hold, and look at who would dare, who will dare to interrupt the elections should be the conversation, not, oh my God, they're going to do it again, they're going to do it again. I think that at this point we should have outgrown that fear, and we should be more confident. We the people are the ones in power now, and nobody would have the guts to come and interrupt elections and say elections will not hold. Please, it's been 20 plus years, elections will hold.
All right, so there's this question that I wanted to ask, ever since you said you're from Kaduna State.
Yes.
I actually wanted to ask this, so let's move away slightly from Peter Obi and let's go to, let's localize the politics a little bit. Kaduna State, your man there, Asake, exactly.
Yeah.
What do you think are his chances?
His chances are great. I think Jonathan Asake has come from, I wouldn't even say come from the back. I think people were not expecting. The two typical political parties, that have been holding the fort, were thinking to have a two-horse race, and they didn't expect the kind of support that Jonathan Asake would have at this point. But I mean, when you go around with Jonathan Asake again, you will see the goodwill he enjoys. Look, people have to spend a lot of money for these kinds of things. But if you go to Kaduna, you would see people sacrificing their time for free. And the thing he enjoys is people are not expecting anything in return. People are not expecting anything in return. So there are two possible outcomes for Jonathan Asake. One, that he wins the election, or two, he causes a great dent. The kind of dent that, look, any coming election, people will know that this is not a person to be joked with. And, a win is a win. So.
Okay.
Interesting conversations there with spokesperson of the Labour Party, Indikato. I was telling her when she stepped into the studio that I was expecting somebody much taller. This is all of me. It's nothing. I can tell you for a fact that where she fell short in terms of height, she had made up for in terms of intellect. She's a beautiful combination of the brain and the brown. And we hope to see you again when we come.
Thank you. I had such a great time.
And I wish you...
It's over already?
All the best.
Wow.
Time flies.
Time is flying.
broadcasting time is prime. Thank you very much for showing up at such short notice.
Thank you for having me.
Hopefully we'll see you before the 17-day mark.
Yes, please.
And you have a lovely campaign activities around.
Thank you.
That's it with Indicato. We will take a short breather. When we return, we'll move straight to our second conversation. Please don't go away.